Good morning, friends. Happy Monday, Memorial Day. Welcome to Coffee Talk. We are a broadcast focused on dance teachers and studio owners and all the really cool things about our field. As we begin today's broadcast, we honor all of those who served our country to maintain our freedoms and our way of life. Your sacrifices are appreciated. Okay, so who's watching today? I'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you are from. Today's broadcast, we're going to have some laughs. We already started laughing before we went on the air. Today's guests are Tammy Bolduc and Debra Steele, both fun, both successful business women. And what I love about them the most is that they are such good friends and such good supporters of each other. So that's what's coming up. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Please put in the comments where you're from. And now I'm going to run a commercial for the Dance Life Teacher Conference. We're only, I'm going to say, about 6 weeks away. A live event. How cool is that? I hope all of you can join us. Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Coffee Talk. Debra, tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend. Tell everybody where you're from.
First, can I just say I see that commercial and I get so excited.
Me too.
Because I know how many people are going to leave there with a plan and excitement and fire back in their soul. Okay, so anyways, but that's exciting. So I am Debra Steele from the Boston area. Methuen, Mass is my hometown specifically, and that's where I owned my studio for 35 years, Dance Images in Methuen, and I just sold it in September, but I still work there. So, and Tammy and I have been friends, I figured out math, for almost 40 years. Go, Tammy.
Wow, how cool is that? Tammy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I will, but going back to that commercial and what happened before, when that countdown was happening, it felt like backstage at Recital. I was getting ready to pull the curtain.
Yeah, well, that's funny. Every 2 weeks I have a Monday morning recital. Welcome to my recital.
Yes, it was awesome.
Wait till the finale, you guys.
Tammy Bolduc. I live in Methuen, Massachusetts, and my studio is in Danvers, Massachusetts, North Shore Dance Academy. And I can say that I'm starting my 29th season because Recital is a thing of the past for me.
Wow. How did it go, Tammy?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
It was wonderful. Like, there's nothing to speak of that went wrong.
And did it feel like you turned a corner? Like, was this your sign that you're coming back, or how did it feel?
It felt normal, but it was less stressful. I don't know how to describe that. Like, every year when I pull that curtain, like, I am like moved to tears just please let everything go okay. Please let the music be fine. Please let the kids get on the stage. Please. And this year, when I pulled that curtain, there was nothing but joy in my heart. And I wasn't worried that anything would go wrong. I knew everything would go right. And I just enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than I ever have before.
Wow.
Tammy, do you think it's because you've allowed yourself not to sweat the little stuff anymore?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And I wasn't at dress rehearsal. Dress rehearsal went without me because I was at home in bed with COVID. So
wait, all right, let's back up on that one. You're at home dealing with COVID and your dress rehearsal is running without you.
Yes.
So first I want to say, how cool is that? And then that's a sign that you have it together. I hope everybody listening can hear that, because to me, that's like the ultimate when you become not needed.
Yes.
So how did it feel to sit back? What did you watch it online or something?
I watched it on Zoom. So they set me up on Zoom, and unfortunately my picture, I was only able to see a white stage because of the lights and the webcam and all of that. All I could see was a white stage. I couldn't see that there were even people on it, but I could hear everything. And that's all I needed. And even that, like, wouldn't that have stressed me out 2 years ago, not being able to see what was happening? I wasn't stressed. I was sitting there for 10 hours watching a white stage, but I could hear everything. So I knew it was going. I knew it was running smooth. I could hear the applause. I could hear the tap shoes on the stage. I could hear the teachers talking to the kids. I was in communication with them, but it just was amazing. And taking a step back, I actually was able to write down the exact time that each routine started, so that I now have a real understanding of how long it takes. And yeah, I have no complaints.
And just for everybody listening, did you get a bad case of COVID? What was that like?
No, it was like a sinus infection for me. So, and that's usually where all of my colds go. So it was nothing that I hadn't experienced before. So for that, I'm grateful.
I'm grateful for that too. So you guys, we have Renee from Omaha with us today, Dee Buchanan, Maryland. Let's see, Erin right here from Massachusetts. How cool is that? Welcome, everybody. So, Debra, you are somebody who has stepped away, actually sold your studio, and you're still working. And this will be the first recital that isn't like your recital. How does that feel? Curious.
It won't feel any different, because the person I sold it to, although she was very involved in the studio, never came backstage. So she has zero clue as to how to do this. So I'll still be calling the show. I'll be standing in my same spot. The only difference will be at the end of the show, she will go out, thank her teachers, and thank the students and talk to the audience. That will really and honestly be the only difference.
Okay. Do all of your people know that you are no longer the owner? I'm curious about that. They don't know.
No, because somebody came to the front desk. Okay, so
don't.
No.
Wow.
All of my competitive kids do, because their parents are there all the time, and they had to know that when I wasn't there at from Thursday night until Sunday night for comp, why I wasn't there, because I just chose not to be at competition for 4 days on a weekend anymore. So they had to know those. So those are the first people that we told. But everybody else, my thought was, it's not going to run I'm working there. It's not going to run any differently. I'm the consultant. She wants to run it the same way. So no one's going to know that. So why am I going to make people sad or think it's an end of an era? Because I just think that evokes a feeling that you just can't help but feel. And I thought, why do that? So I said, we'll cross that bridge after the first year. So what I did in the program, because I did do the program because there were just certain things she hadn't done yet. And I put a little, instead of the normal stuff I put in there, I put a letter from her. And it said, thank you so much for making my first year owning Dance Images Dance and Music Center so incredible. So that's kind of how people will, those that don't know, a lot do, because they talk. But somebody came to the front desk the other day and she was talking to me and I said, well, I don't own it anymore. And she's like, what? And I said, I don't own it anymore. Dawn owns it. I said, I'm still here. There's nothing different for you guys. And she's like, oh my God, I never knew. So we job done. We did. It was an easy transition. I just didn't want any drama. I don't like drama. I'm not a drama person.
I agree with you on that. I think I'm less drama orientated since the pandemic. Just like we were talking about earlier, Tammy's going to let things go now that she might not have been able to let go. I think for most, the pandemic said, okay, less drama, more calmness, more doing for myself and what I need for myself.
Right. And couple that with an age, whatever age that is for you that says, I'm just not taking it anymore. So I think those two things together are just great.
So you two, one of the things that I started this show off with it, but one of the things that I've admired the most through these last many years that you have owned a studio, Debra, is how close you two are. And you really aren't far from each other as far as your studio locations. Am I right?
No.
They're about what, 25 minutes, Tam?
Well, no, more than that. More.
Really?
Oh,
35, okay. 40. I live in the town where her studio is, but my studio is farther north to Boston.
Oh, okay. So you can check Debra out at any time, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how'd you meet?
I don't even know. Okay.
Dancing school. That's it. I mean,
did you take from the same teacher?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
And was that Mary Jane Strondak?
It was the one and only.
Yeah, she was and is one of the finest dance teachers in this area.
Mm-hmm. She was the teacher's teacher, because when I remember she went to go work at her niece's studio, and I remember the recital that we all got a call, and they said, we're all going to put you sporadically in the audience. And at the end of the show, we're going to call up anyone in the audience that ever went to Mary Jane or owned a studio in the area. There, Tammy, you were there, right?
I wasn't. No.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
There had to be 40 people that stood up, and we all walked up with a rose. Yeah. She had such a handful of roses. In the end, she really, and we all own studios somewhere.
Oh, the number of studio owners and dance teachers that came as a result of Mary Jane. Yeah.
I remember. You guys will remember Chirp Sickery, right? Dance competition.
Yes,
for those of you that are watching from different parts of the country, you may not know about it. But in New England, there was a competition every June. And it's back in the day where it was really like one competition a year back then. Mm-hmm. And I remember Mary Jane at a Chirp Sickery. And this is a sign of who she was and what her personality was like. I had a number. I remember the music, Nights in White Satin. I had unitards and rope, and I was building the costume at the competition, which we did back then. And Mary Jane came in the room and helped me to make that costume work.
Mhm.
Sewed the rope on the kids, did all of this stuff. And that number was competing against her kids. And I never, ever forgot that. To me, that was like, wow, this is an example of how we in New England have managed to appreciate each other.
That's the thing. That we back then, we didn't know we were competing against those kids because Chirp Sickery wasn't that. Chirp Sickery was that comp that you got adjudicated in it. There could be, later, a little bit later, but like back then, we weren't competing against anyone. And that was, I think, because of her mentality.
Yes.
She just wanted to do her best and do her best for her kids.
And so you two have spent, I don't know, at least the last decade traveling to different events together and all of that. What's it like to have such a good friend in the field? What do you guys...
It's imperative. It's imperative.
And if anyone's ever met Tammy, like if you don't have a friend like Tammy that is as sweet as like, I don't know, sugar melts in her mouth, like you just need one because she just takes everything and puts it into such a sweet perspective. So we always call it our yin and yang. Yin and yang. We're totally yin and yang. Which is why we help each other. So if I'm going to be too harsh on something, I just call Tammy.
And vice versa. If I need, to have a little bit of backbone, I call Deb.
How do you stay? I'm taking us off this topic and going somewhere else. Tammy, you are a person that doesn't seem to get rattled. You always seem to stay there in this calming way. And I've seen you do this in maybe some times where you should be a little bit stressed. How do you do it, my friend?
I don't know. I good genes. I don't know. I try to see the good in people and try to put myself in their shoes. And getting rattled isn't going to solve the problem. So, it's like this stage, it comes at you. You do what you have to do for yourself. Do you have to go in a room and scream? Do you have to, tear some sheets? A friend once told me. What do you have to do to get it out first? Do you have to call a friend? Do you have to, ask your spouse? What do you have to do? And then you got to solve the problem. Because in the end, we solve a lot of problems.
We do. I feel like that's pretty much 50% of our role.
And people are looking at you to help solve the problem. So you can either solve the problem or, be worrying about it.
Okay, I mean this with love and affection.
Here we go.
You were expecting this, Debra?
Yep. Be nice.
I am going to be. You have a more exciting personality. I've never had to do anything like this live in front of other people.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm also Italian, so it comes along with it. But Tammy literally is a phenomenon. So you know how like there's different people that are made for their profession? She's a phenomenon. She has owned a studio for almost 30 years, and she actually still likes people. So that's a phenomenon. So, and she sees the good in those people. And so, like, I think...
I do like them.
I know you do. I know.
As opposed to Debra, who just does not like people. And that's not against anyone. She just doesn't like anyone.
Someone will say to me, do you, like, they'll come with a dog and they'll be like, do you mind if I have my dog? I go, I like dogs more than I like most people. So I just think they're sweet and just I don't know, the barking at each other in human form. But no, that's why I call Tammy when I don't want to react that way. But I think I'm a little bit more passionate in my feelings. They're one way to the other, and that's also the anxiety thing. It's a little bipolarish. So sorry.
Bipolarish. I think you might have made up a word.
Yeah,
I like that.
it is a little bipolar.
I'm a little bipolarish.
Self-diagnosed.
So, when it comes to you having like sold the studio, do you plan on being a part of the business for an extended period of time? Do you think that dance will always be a part of who you are, or what?
For the near future, I love the studio. I love the running of the studio. I love my kids. I think once your studio gets to a certain size and you can't be in that room, that's a hard decision. So you can make it one way or the other. But I like running the business. I miss being in the room, but not enough to do what it takes to get back in the room, the training and and all of that. But I love the running, the business aspect of it. I really, really like it. And I really love the woman that bought the studio. So I will be there as long as she will allow me to be. And I'll probably know. The good thing is I can always say if I want to spend an afternoon with my granddaughter, I can always say I'm going to work from home later tonight after she goes to bed. Like it's not as stringent. I'll still get the work I need to get done. But it's nobody holds me in that seat.
For those that are viewing today, talk about having stepped back to run the business. There are a lot of people, that's a consistent question that I get from studio owners is, I'd like to have more time to actually run the business, but I don't want to disappoint kids by not teaching them. I don't want parents to think that I'm stepping back by not being in the classroom. Both of you step back. Talk to us about making that decision, and were there any repercussions from it? Who wants to go first? I'll go Tim.
It wasn't a very quick decision that I made. So the whole year before leaving the classroom, I knew that it was coming, and I had let my staff know. And I had let the parents know, and I had let the kids know. And of course, you've got those kids that are like, "You're ruining my senior year." No, what I knew that it was the best move. I knew that my staff, they were better in the classroom than I was at that point because I was just wearing too many hats. So, I mean, after so many years of teaching, I could pull a great class, of course, and no one would ever know. But that feeling that you have inside of, I could have done better, or I should have planned that more, or, the time in the classroom, I loved every single second. But when I left that room after teaching for 6 hours, the list of things that happened that I needed to address afterwards was just too long. So I decided to give up what I called my part-time job, and I gave up the teaching and decided to just run the studio. But I didn't disappear. I was still at the studio, and instead of being available only to those kids that I taught on a daily basis, I was now available to everyone. My door is always open. And it's a revolving door sometimes, with people that need to speak to me, want to just chat it up for some time. It was really great for me to get to know everybody. So they just had to see. I had thought about it for a long time, I knew it was the right decision. They needed to live it to understand that I knew what I was talking about in that moment, you know.
And how long ago was that?
Ooh, it's probably been 4 years since I haven't been in the classroom on a regular basis.
So now there's nobody expecting you to be in the classroom
No.
by this point. No.
No.
So once you pulled the Band-Aid off, you had a few people who may have said something, but
Yeah, but they were also happy for me.
right. I ask you that because I want our viewers who are listening, who are considering this and have fears, to let some of those fears go, even if you have to do it gradually. Deborah, what's your thought? You've done the same thing before.
I kind of evolved a little bit. It was a little easier for me because my daughter at that point was getting of age where she really wanted to be in the classroom. She was good at it. So you know, I just kind of let her take over. She went right into comp stuff because she was very heavily involved in the convention world. So she had a lot to bring. And I kind of, when I started getting pulled out of the room more often than not, like if I was in there teaching a class and the front desk person would come in and say, somebody needs you at the front desk, it was the more times I was getting pulled out of that room. And I thought, this is so unfair to these kids. This is so unfair to what they're paying for. But there were certain situations where it had to be just us, just me. So that kind of evolved, and then she kind of stepped into that role. And then when she moved away, I hired a comp director. So it kind of evolved. But mine's been going on since I think 2000 and I think it was 2011 is when I started going to mastermind things, and taking myself out of the room. So it's been a long time.
It might even be more than 4 years for me. I'm not even really sure.
Time passes so quickly here.
It does.
It does. But I just feel like I've seen so many studios turn around as the director. You don't have to step back completely, but like you said, Deborah, when they start coming into your classroom and saying there's a situation that you have to take care of, it's probably at that point that we need to start thinking, okay, how can I do a better job at this? I know that the two of you, through your last 5 or 6 years at least of being a part of IDEA and everything, you're always at seminars. What is it that, how do I want to word this? What is it that opens your mind so much? I feel like people sometimes who've been in business 30 years, 40 years, they kind of feel like, well, I know what I'm doing. How do you guys feel? I see you learning all the time.
Because I think our mindsets are, what the hell am I doing? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's our mindsets. What am I doing? I don't even know what direction I'm supposed to go in. But I also think that everything evolves. Everything, every single profession evolves. And you can only stay relevant if you're staying current. Because you've seen people that own studios for so long, and it's being run the same way, and it's just not the same profession at all anymore. At all. Everybody's different. Your customers are all different. It's a different mindset. They come to you for a different reason than they used to. I think that's what it is. I think you just have to understand that you have to keep learning, like any of your teachers that you have in your studio. Once they stop going to these things, you're not staying current.
It's true. Yeah. I love to learn. Love. And you don't get tested. Well, you do in the grand scheme of things, but I just love to learn.
Yeah. Same.
I want to soak in as much as I can and as many different ideas as I can. I want it to be the best place that it can be. And I need to stay current. Like you said, I need to stay current. And it keeps me young.
The kids certainly do. Like, you can't wear grandma clothes. Like, you can't. You just can't. They'll be like, what are you wearing? Like, are you okay? Are you sick today? Yeah. I love it.
So, Debra, you talked a bit about how much everything's changed. I know this is going to be a hard question, but just tell me what's the first thing to come to mind. What's the biggest change?
Trust.
Ooh, that was a quick answer. So what does that word trust mean in this context?
Trust in that, I think back, parents gave you your kid, right? And they trusted you were the professional, and you tell me what I need to do. And I don't blame anyone for not having trust. There's plenty of reasons. That's a whole nother seminar. But I think that nowadays we all trust less. And so that's a huge part of when we're trying to, I think a lot of studio owners think, I can just put out this piece of information. You're going to read it. You're going to take it in, and you're going to do what I'm asking you because you trust that I know how to do my job best, right? And I think that that's not the case. They're advocating for their kids, and because that's what you do. You advocate for your kids. But then it ends up being a push and a pull. So you have to figure out how you can. I always said that I think the greatest thing we could ever do is have once a month, a professional come in once a month, and it's just for parents. That was a parental in the waiting area, and it's just a parental talk about different aspects of bringing up kids, because I think that's where it starts, right? And we all have to be on the same page, and unless we are, it's
I agree on the trust in that context.
Yeah.
There were kids when I was a kid in the studio whose parents turned them over to my mother and say, she's yours, and let me know what I need to do. It was a different world. Now it's I don't mean this in a bad way. It's just the new world it is. It's hard to get kids and parents to make a commitment to something, anything, whether it's dance or something else. How about you, Tam? That was enlightening. What's the biggest change?
That was, I don't know how to follow that. And when you said the word trust, Deb, it literally made my stomach turn a little bit. It did. Like my stomach did a little
things
flip.
I say make people's stomach turn.
No, that's not. Just I don't know. I don't have young kids anymore, so it's. I try to think back of when my kids were small, how it felt to put them into activities, and so that was very eye-opening. But so what has changed? So much has changed. I mean, and not necessarily for the worse. Kids have so many opportunities now. They have, when back in the day when we started our studios, a child turned 3 and they went to dancing school. That's what they did. And our studios were full of children by word of mouth and an ad in the newspaper.
Once a year. Yeah.
Once a year. And
it's so true.
And now,
and wait, you took the summer off sometimes, like you didn't have anything going on in the summer.
Yeah, and now there's just so many opportunities for kids, sports and arts, and just everywhere you turn, there's something being offered to them. So that time that they turned 3 and they came to dance class, that might not necessarily be the case anymore. And that one little ad in the newspaper once a year is now social media every day, and emails, and it just all of that extra stuff that you had to do to keep up with all of that. And you know what, Rhee? Going back to the learning, thank goodness we're still learning, because it changes all the time. And if we weren't learning, would our studios be as successful as they could be? You're still going to get those word of mouth people. You're still going to get the people who know of you through other people. Thank goodness, because those are the clients and the students that I prefer. But you know, it's a lot to keep up. So that has changed.
Yes, both of you gave good examples there of what has changed. I remember those days of the newspaper ads coming out and a 2-week registration, and then registration closed, and you kind of had your students and you went on with the year. I mean, now we are on a consistent marketing campaign, a consistent putting the word out there. I also believe that when we were growing up, there weren't nearly as many studios.
True.
I feel like in every community there is multiple studios, whereas you would in the old days say, well, she's in Canton, Mass, and that would be the only one who was in Canton, Mass. It's not like that anymore. So we have to put the word out there more. We have to be more involved in our community than ever before, just to get the word out that we exist.
Yeah.
I also think that when you think about it, how much marketing we're doing now compared to what we did back then, the tried and true method is always going to be keep your customers happy and they'll just tell the story. Because people are getting inundated with marketing, and some people just get aggravated when they see a ton of marketing and someone's coming at them over and over. They're just that mentality of, you know what, tell me what to do, I'm not doing it, is very prevalent. So I think that really the main way to get students is always going to be focus on your customer service, focus on the quality of your classes, and not so much the dancing is the top, but how much fun are the kids having in class, especially now. Are the kids having fun? Can they come into class and not think about anything else? Because it's always been that for so many of us. So many of us. Can they come into class and not think about anything else, and it's their outlet? Because if people don't have an outlet, we see what that turns into. They need an outlet. And so can you be that outlet for them? It's necessary.
You're right. And in order to be that outlet, this is going to get a little deep, but then I'll come right out of it. In order to be that light, or you have to be accepting of every child. You have to look at the potential in every kid, not be that teacher that's always on the lookout. Oh, she's good, I want to work with her. In order to make this 21st century dance studio work, you have to be open to diverse ways of learning, diverse kids, diverse personalities,
diverse parents.
Yes, and be totally open to it all, because this is our new world. I think that's important. I think the old days of really striving to work with or build great dancers and that being our success, it's a part of our success still. But true success comes in how many kids you can bring the art of dance to when they feel joy and they want to stay in your school for 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, or the art of taking a child and letting them leave their piece of their mind that's not pleasant. Even if it's just it's in your studio, but it could be in a ceramic studio. But as you are the place where they're going to come and not think about those things that are unpleasant to them, whatever those are. Their escape. Everybody needs an escape. We all do. Their parents, especially right now, that's the problem most people are having, most studios are having. So the more, if you can take their children's escape off of their plate, it frees them up.
Good way to put it. Good way to put it, Debra. And make it easy for them by creating good communication, not getting upset if they repeat the same question 10 times or you've answered that question 10 times. Be grateful that you have a business filled with people who are asking you questions, because 2 years ago, that was in question. Like, that's the way I look at it. Let go of all the things that stress you out. Many people watching are moms, maybe dads, who don't read either. But yet we get upset. And I look at it as, well, I'll get this information out there in these 20 different ways. Wait. And I'll still have 10 that are going to come and ask me. But that's okay.
I think we tend to take it personally. Like, I worked 2 hours on this, and
and you didn't read it.
So that, like, any person with a learning disability can understand it. Like, and then somebody doesn't even read it, and it's one sentence, and there's 3 questions on everything that was in that one sentence. But we can all attest to right now, especially right now, our minds, we're all in PTSD, right? From,
you laugh about it and we snicker. But I believe it 100%.
Absolutely.
I believe
everybody's waiting for a shoe to drop somewhere, no matter what. And that causes an anxiety in people that didn't normally have anxiety, or people that were able to cover the anxiety for so long. So I know I'm so sick of hearing, like, give grace, but yeah, you have to sometimes, because you're in business and you're in the service industry. So you have to be ready to give service. And do it in any way that the parent needs to hear it.
Yes.
Yes. Is it irritating? Yes, it's absolutely irritating. Yeah.
I'm laughing because, yes, that's the way Debra would say
irritating. Like, read the freaking email. But again, they probably didn't. They got 35 emails in their box, 135 emails in their box, and now they have to go through them one at a time. Think about if you had a small child. Do you have time to go through your emails one at a time every day? No, you're just trying to live. You're trying to live life.
It's true. It's true. And if they're asking a question, they don't know the answer.
Right.
You want them to know the answer. So answer the question with kindness, right? Because the more informed everybody is, the smoother it goes for you in the end. And with every child, there's a lot of different learning styles for children, but there's different learning styles for adults too.
Yes, and nobody paid attention to that when those adults were kids.
Well, and those Ritalin kids are now parents, so
right,
right. You have to deal with that. So there's just a whole mess of biology. There's so many things we do. And back to, that's why seminars are so important, because everything is touched on, and you feel like you get a little piece of information that you were like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's not just jumbled in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to ask you both a question, but both the same question. As you move into your next season, and I know, Debra, it's a little different for you, what are some changes that you're going to make that you believe will make next season a better year?
I think I'm just going to try to have the new owner. She works with me, and she listens to. She knows that I have the history, and I'm still learning. She's also an IDEA member, so that's good. But I think that I'm going to have her just learn more and do things. We don't have to know so much more. We just have to know how to do those things better. And so I think just focusing on some of the stuff now before the pandemic that we kind of let go a little. Those theme weeks and the things that we really did focus on that took time and energy, that this year we kind of were like, all right, let's just focus on getting back into the classroom, and let's not try to do 100 things. But I think we'll go back a little bit, and I'm not going all the way back. We're not going all the way back, but I think that just going back to doing things as best we can.
Going back and trying to pull out of the bag the pre-pandemic stuff that was working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because on another hand, we don't have to bring it all back. We can now bring back just what we know works, because everybody was expecting this change that is happening. Like, I'll reiterate that. I'm going to look straight into the camera. If ever there was a time, that's why I asked this question. If ever there was a time to make change, this is it. I don't know how long this window is going to be open, but we still have the ability to blame a change on the pandemic and the new world that we're living in. So why not take that opportunity and make the changes that are going to make your life, your business, and everything a happier existence? Go ahead, Tim. What are you going to do different?
I'm going to continue to check in on people. I'm going to continue to check in on the students and the parents and the teachers and making sure that they're okay. I started doing a lot more of that last year, and it's going in the calendar so that I don't forget and get sidetracked with something else.
Give me an example of checking in with any of those groups.
Just going out in the lobby and sitting with the parents for a few minutes and asking how their day is going. Last year, I have high five cards, and when I see a student doing something special, I give them high five cards. Well, I started giving them to the parents. I would hear a parent say, "Oh my gosh, I was in so much traffic and I didn't think I was going to," and she's just venting to a friend in the lobby. And I can hear her. I'm in my office. I'm not necessarily eavesdropping. She's, making it public knowledge. And I started giving high five cards to the parents and telling them they're doing a great job.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. And like the look on their face of just, oh my gosh, thank you. I am doing a good job, And I, like Deb was saying, I want to go back to some of the things that we stopped doing that I feel made us special in the first place. Like just the we used to have a Keurig for the parents. We had to take it away with COVID. We used to have coloring pages and communal crayons for the kids. We had to take it away because of COVID. We used to have, books on shelves, and some of our like student assistants would actually read to the children. We took it away because of COVID. Like all of that stuff that I felt made us special. That was the hardest part, was getting rid of all the stuff that I felt was made us who we were. And then we weren't able to do it because we weren't allowed to do it. And you know what? We're allowed to do it again. And I want to bring it back. I want them to get a Dum Dum Pop on the way out the door. Because they can now. For a while we couldn't. But I just, those kinds of things. So what am I going to change? I don't know that I necessarily want to change a lot. I think I just want to keep doing the things that make me feel good about who we are as a studio. And
who are you as a studio, Tammy?
I think that we are a place that people feel like they're at home. They can trust, and like Deb said, trust is a harder thing now, but with more time that they spend with us, they can trust that their kids are in a really good place. And we're also teaching some really nice dance classes too. But it is a place where they can grow up and feel that their time there was well spent. We had a couple of kids that are not returning next season. And one of them wrote me this beautiful email. She's only 10, 11 years old, wrote me this beautiful email about everything that I've meant to her. But when she goes to, next year, when she goes to middle school, she's going to be concentrating on sports. And my response to her was, I love you, who you are as a person, who you were as a dancer to me was just, a cherry on top. And I am going to continue to watch you grow, and I'm going to continue to keep in touch. And her parents appreciated that so much, because it was hard for her to write that email. But they trusted that email would be received in a way that she knew she still had a cheerleader in me, even if she wasn't coming to the studio every day. So.
Wow, I want to say something. That's also a reflection of you, Tammy, that she would feel comfortable enough to let you know rather than sort of just run, if that makes sense. You meant enough to her, and that she and her mom felt like it's okay to tell Tammy this. Because wait, we laugh or we smirk when I say that. But isn't it a reality that the majority might get upset when that kid quits?
Yeah.
Or try to talk them into staying. Very interesting. I appreciate that part of you, Miss Tam.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, once a child makes that decision, they've thought long and hard about that. The last thing that they would need from me is to try to change their mind. What they need to know is that they're supported, and that I want them to come visit, and I want to continue to know what their successes are.
I'm going to ask you this question really fast because it just came up, because I think I know your answer. So make it a quick answer.
Okay.
How do you react if a kid leaves your school to go for another school?
The same way.
Okay. Why?
Because the bond that you have with these kids is who they are as people, right? So I want them to be happy wherever they are. And maybe not, because that has happened this season as well. It may not necessarily be that they're unhappy with me. I just might not be their cup of tea right now. And I would rather them go to a studio that is meeting their needs at that time than to stay with me in hopes that I'll change.
So I gotta stop and say, you've let go of the ego, Tim.
Yeah. What good would ego do to anyone? For anyone? It's not going to help me. It's not going to help them. And my husband, he said, "How do you not take this personally?" And I said, "How can I take personally a child that is leaving the school? If you don't want me rolled up in the bed in the corner for every child that has left our school, do you?" Like, no, I don't take it personally. I don't, because I know I've done my best at the time that they were there, right? So I don't second guess what I'm giving them. I don't second guess what I gave them. I want them to be happy. I want them to be successful. I want them to just be good humans.
And I think I don't want to discount the immediate feeling you have the first time you find that out. It hurts. Mm-hmm. Because you do take it personally a little bit, because your business, to you, this particular business, is very personal. We put our heart and soul into it. So we can't discount that feeling we first have, but then we have to find out why. Why are they leaving? Yeah. Is it because they want to go to just a strict ballet studio? Oh my goodness, I can't give that to you. Right? I can't give you 10 ballet classes. Like, it just depends on why they're leaving. If they're leaving because if it's a teacher issue, then I got to deal with that teacher issue, and I wouldn't know that, and I would be losing other kids if I weren't made aware of that. So I guess we have to find out why they're leaving. Yeah. If they just want to go do sports, I can't help them. I don't have soccer classes. So what are you going to do? Like, Mr. Macy doesn't stand in Filene's and say, "Why are you shopping here?" Like, I can't do that. So got to find out why. But I don't want to discount that feeling, especially a comp kid that's been with you for 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they want to go where their friends are. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to come back. They have always really, honestly, I gotta say 80% of my kids have come back.
Okay, and what I want to bring up this point about that. They're not going to come back if you blasted them when they left.
Right.
If you respond, even if it hurts, even if you go home and have a big tall glass of wine, you have to say, my door is always open.
Exactly.
Unless
And
they're
you
problem parents, then the classes are full.
And
Yes.
you might run into them at competitions from this point forward too. You don't want that to be awkward for the child. You don't want that to be awkward for the teammates that they are no longer with. You want it, you
Look at this. Did you see Renee? I believe she's from Omaha. She goes, she's going to start a studio softball team. I love this.
The other thing too is you don't want, I don't know about you guys, I don't want people that don't like me out in the world. I don't like it. As hard ass as I seem, I don't like when I've made somebody's life worse. So I don't want to have to duck and weave from people that I see outside because I've pissed them off in some way, or I've made their child feel like a leper because she left. Like, I don't want that out in the world because that's karma to me. I don't want it. I mean, you're gonna have it. You're going to have it at times, but I want those to be few and far between. And I want to solve whatever problems I can solve. I don't want it out in the world.
I agree with that. That's a vibe that is hard to deal with.
Great.
So, final words of wisdom. First, I want to say before I ask you that, this was a great talk. I enjoy you guys a whole lot. And I so much appreciate your respect for each other and your differing perspectives, and maintaining that, not differing in a bad way, but it's two different personalities, and how you work with each other and how you support each other is amazing. And I've seen it firsthand. Okay, final words of wisdom, Debra.
I don't know. I guess, love what you do. When you stop loving what you do, make a decision. But if you stay longer than your love, I always say between now and dead, like there's things I want to do. And if owning my studio is one of those things, again, don't forget, it's not who you are. It's just what you do. Maybe you've done it for 40 years. It's still not who you are. You are a human being with lots to give. So I think at this point, what the pandemic has taught us is design your life. I'm doing things now I never thought I would do. Design your life.
Design your
I'm writing that down.
100 different things than the person next to you. You design your life. You have the capacity, you have the wherewithal, you have the ability to learn and do that. You don't have to follow someone else's path. It's yours. You are put here to do that.
And reiterate, you don't have to go someone else's path.
That's their path. They were put here for their path.
You must go with what instinctually feels right for you. And I believe that we know what that is. But sometimes we look at other people and go, maybe we should go that route.
But I think you have to know yourself. So this is good. This whole being by ourselves, I think a lot of us have figured out who we are. And we have thought about it. So know yourself, because that's the only way you can find your path. Because otherwise you're trying to be somebody else, and that's not your path.
Okay. This is my longest coffee talk. Tammy, final words of wisdom.
I think when you're faced with something difficult, take a moment. Don't have knee-jerk reactions. Take a moment. Play devil's advocate for a minute, but also play angel's advocate for a minute, and find the happy medium that you can, when you're solving this problem, find the happy medium that you can live with, and just look at everything that comes at you from both sides, and know that you're doing the best you can. They're doing the best they can. So
Awesome.
Don't give up your core values, but when things come at you, take a moment, really reflect on what's coming at you and
think about your reaction.
Yep. In the end, you might be happier because of it.
Yes, sometimes leaving something unsaid or not responding can be the best thing to do, to simply let it go. We don't have to react to everything. Sometimes people say things to us that bother us, and they've forgotten that they've even said it, but we allow it to bother us for the next 2 days, and their original intention wasn't what we took it to be. Okay, this was a blast. Thank you for joining us for today's Coffee Talk. Thank you, Debra. Thank you, Tammy. We will be back with you in 2 weeks. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.